Remember always that you not only have the right to be an individual, you have an obligation to be one. Anger is one letter short of danger. People grow through experience if they meet life honestly and courageously. This is how character is built. Use your voice for kindness, your ears for compassion, your hands for charity, your mind for truth, and your heart for love. Real leaders are ordinary people with extraordinary determinations. You can never really live anyone else's life, not even your child's. The influence you exert is through your own life and what you've become yourself. I used to tell my husband that if he could make me understand something, it would be cleared up in my mind forever. No matter how plain a woman may be, if truth and honesty are written across her face, she will be beautiful. Mankind's greatest achievements have come about by talking, and its greatest failures by silence. Do what you feel in your heart to be right, for you'll be criticized anyway. Many people will walk in and out of your life, but only true friends will leave footprints in your heart. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. Success must include two things: the development of an individual to his utmost potentiality and a contribution of some kind to one's world. Life was meant to be lived, and curiosity must be kept alive. One must never, for whatever reason, turn his back on life. You wouldn't worry so much about what others think of you if you realized how seldom they do. Friendship with oneself is all important because without it one cannot be friends with anyone else in the world. How far you go in life depends on your being tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant of the weak and strong. Because someday in your life, you'll have been all of these. Childhood shows me the world is a wonderful place. The test of our progress is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much, it is whether we provide enough for those who have little. Grace is when expectations are shattered and God steps in anyway. I am who I am today because of the choices I made yesterday. Learn from the mistakes of others. You can't live long enough to make them all yourself. All of life is a constant education. You can't take chances in life if you're going to stay within what's safe and secure. Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small minds discuss people. To handle yourself, use your head. To handle others, use your heart. We are determined to work for the common good of all, freely and loyally cooperate in the tasks which lie before us, and share the fruits of our common endeavor. Strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value. It isn't enough to talk about peace. One must believe in it. And it isn't enough to believe in it. One must work at it. He who loses money loses much. He who loses a friend loses much more. He who loses faith loses all. Consciousness is a terrible thing to waste. Continuous improvement is better than delayed perfection. You declare your own independence every day by just getting up and daring to go ahead. You can never truly escape darkness. You can only turn it into light. You can often change your circumstances by changing your attitude. Probably the happiest period in life most frequently is in middle age, when the passions have been satisfied, and yet the mind is still clear and the body not too worn. This unsettling era of change does not require a genius to recognize that the ultimate answer to mankind's problems reside neither in Mars nor Venus, but in the hearts and souls of men and women. With freedom, books, flowers, and the moon, who could not be happy? Confidence comes not from always being right, but from not fearing to be wrong. The only limit to our realization of tomorrow will be our doubts of today. The purpose of life is to live it, to taste experience to the utmost, to reach out eagerly and without fear for newer and richer experience. You can often measure a person by the size of the problem he confronted and the degree to which he experienced defeat. One's philosophy is not best expressed in words. It is expressed in the choices one makes, and the choices we make are ultimately our responsibility. Authentic leadership is not a matter of public relations. It is a matter of character. It is not fair to ask of others what you are unwilling to do yourself. Kindness becomes its own motive. We are made kind by being kind. You grow up the day you have your first real laugh at yourself. I once had a rose named after me, and I was very flattered. But I was not pleased to read the description in the catalog. No good in a bed, but fine up against a wall. A woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong she is until she gets in hot water. Above all, try something. Choose wisely, act honorably, and live grateful. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift. That is why we call it the present. Beautiful young people are accidents of nature, but beautiful old people are works of art. We gain strength and courage and confidence by each experience in which we really stop to look fear in the face. We must do that which we think we cannot. I have spent many years of my life in opposition, and I rather like the role. Everyone has inside of him a piece of good news. The good news is that you don't know how great you can be, how much you can love, what you can accomplish, and what your potential is. There are many ways of going forward, but only one way of standing still. Happiness is not a goal. It is a byproduct. Education is essential to self-respect. Courage is more exhilarating than fear, and in the long run, it is easier. With the new day comes new strength and new thoughts. I learned that if you want to hold a political office in America, you have got to sell yourself and spend hours and days and nights and weeks and months and maybe years selling yourself instead of trying to find out what the problems are. Believe in yourself, and there will come a day when others will have no choice but to believe with you. It takes as much energy to wish as it does to plan. Experience tells you what to do. Confidence allows you to do it. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. You have to accept whatever comes, and the only important thing is that you meet it with courage and with the best that you have to give. In the long run, we shape our lives and we shape ourselves. The process never ends until we die, and the choices we make are ultimately our own responsibility. Don't let yesterday take up too much of today. The purpose of life, after all, is to live it, to taste experience to the utmost, to reach out eagerly and without fear for newer and richer experience. Human kindness has never weakened the stamina or softened the fiber of a free people. A nation does not have to be cruel to be tough. I think, at a child's birth, if a mother could ask a fairy godmother to endow it with the most useful gift, that gift should be curiosity. The future is literally in our hands to mold as we like, but we cannot wait until tomorrow. Tomorrow is now. Beyond armchair philosophers, nothing infuriates me more than preachers of morality who fall far below the standards themselves. If life were predictable, it would cease to be life and be without flavor. By recognizing people's desires to live decently, to be recognized for their abilities, and to have a chance to tackle problems on their own, rewarding careers in government service can be made available to large numbers of Americans. It takes courage to love, but pain through love is the purifying fire which those who love generously know. The most important thing in any relationship is not what you get, but what you give. I am convinced that every effort must be made to engage meaningfully the poor in this country, and wherever possible, lift them out of poverty. Never mistake knowledge for wisdom. One helps you make a living, the other helps you make a life. I once asked a man who was leaving Montgomery after spending several days there, "Why did you come?" He answered, "To see where hope is reborn." Only a man's character is the real criterion of worth. Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Franklin said, "Nothing is certain except death and taxes." I would add my own corollary. Nothing is certain except death, taxes, and change. Do one thing every day that scares you. Discovery consists not in seeking new lands, but in seeing with new eyes. What you don't do can be a destructive force. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Think as highly of yourself as God thinks of you. He loves you madly. Treat everyone with politeness, even those who are rude to you, not because they are nice, but because you are. Personal injury is soul surgery. We are afraid to care too much for fear that the other person does not care at all. If someone betrays you once, it's their fault. If they betray you twice, it's your fault. You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. I think that somehow we learn who we really are and then live with that decision. We do not have to become heroes overnight. Just a step at a time, meeting each thing that comes up, seeing it as not as dreadful as it appeared, discovering we have the strength to stare it down. Since you get more joy out of giving joy to others, you should put a good deal of thought into the happiness that you are able to give. When you cease to make a contribution, you begin to die. When you have decided what you believe, what you feel must be done, have the courage to stand alone and be counted. I believe that anyone can conquer fear by doing the things he fears to do, provided he keeps doing them until he gets a record of successful experiences behind him. I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Freedom makes a huge requirement of every human being. With freedom comes responsibility. Every day, do something that will inch you closer to a better tomorrow. Health is not a condition of matter, but of mind. Leadership is not about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in your charge.